So, all right. Could I have one of you talk, please?
What's
Test,
up,
test.
guys?
Perfect.
Test.
Just wanted to make sure Discord actually knew what Discord OBS was knowing what it was doing. Let me turn down the music here. And welcome guys. So welcome to episode 13 of today to TIL. Today we have John and Maury from Kado, who are here to talk about what's up since the last time Kado was here. Maybe give us a little bit of alpha, which will be absolutely amazing. So again, really quickly, I'm Tog. I'm part of the OSL. That there is Water Spinner, also part of the OSL. We try to have these every other week-ish. And Kado Maury, Kado John, take it away. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, good to be here. So, I guess I've been in and around the crypto space for about 6-7 years now, ever since graduating college, but actually even before that, trading digital assets since I was playing a video game that many in crypto know, World of Warcraft, being able to exchange the in-game assets for real-world currency when I was, about 13 years old. So many years later, we're, building a fiat on and off ramp that is in the Cosmos ecosystem. Starting to do some really fun stuff and excited to share more. John, I'll let you go.
Yeah, hey guys. This is John. I'm the head of product here at Kado. My background is I spent like 10 years in management consulting for Fortune 500, like starting in Big Four. Spent a few years in the startup world. Spent a few years in Fortune 500. So I've kind of been around. But crypto was always the most interesting thing I'd ever done. That actually kept my interest. So I joined not too long ago, maybe more than like a year and a half ago, full time into crypto, and have been building product for Kado ever since. So building products for you guys to use and for you guys to get into Web3. So good to be here.
Yeah, that's great to have you guys. Actually, I wanted to see how the year's been going, like events wise and stuff. I was talking to Maury. I know that you were at Consensus. If it is, how did that go? Did you guys have any any big stuff that you want to talk about from that or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Always fun to see folks in both Cosmos and beyond, other ecosystems at these events. I think what I can say is, top level, right? Like looking back on the year, I think I was just seeing that, the markets have been up about 70-75% since the beginning of the year, which is, very good to see. It's been a bear market, no doubt, but definitely a stronger one. So I think it kind of reassures us and hopefully others that there's so much going on that builders continue to build, and you see that, of course, when you go to these events, and that's so great to meet other founders, meet other projects. It's necessary, right? If you're building in the space, but again, ultimately the momentum continues and everything that's going on is very positive, even if the price might not look like it, immediately. There's so much good that's happening.
Yeah, I'm happy that it was. I didn't go this year, but last year I went when it was midsummer and it was
Oh, brutal.
extremely brutal weather. Yeah, so I definitely saw that this year the weather was much more forgiving. It seemed like people were a little bit happier, just in general to be there. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean Austin's always, beautiful. So lots of good food, lots of good people. It was a little warm, but actually it was raining a lot this year. But again, so many projects, lots of Cosmos folks. There was a really fun Cosmos dinner that informal held. That was a lot of folks in the ecosystem. That again, you see the momentum, you see stuff going on, kind of in these events and hearing and talking with folks that it might not again reflect today, but there's a lot of good stuff that's coming.
Yeah, yeah, some ideas being brewed and stuff. That's good. That's good to hear.
Absolutely.
So, why John, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean events have been great. We've been at a bunch of events recently, and every time we meet a lot of builders. A lot of the it's funny, builders, like the narrative that builders talk about is kind of like cyclical. So sometimes we'll talk about, for 3 months everyone is talking about something, and then another 3 months everyone's talking about another thing, right? It's just interesting to see how the narrative changes. um, but it's good to keep a pulse on things. Last time we were talking about like Web3 onboarding and how that was a big deal.
Mhm.
um, but just keeping an ear to the ground, and listening to what people are interested in, making sure we kind of do two things, right? We're juggling what people are talking about and interested in, but also keeping our vision and moving forward with what we believe is like the innovative and the effective thing to build. But events have been great. People, we love when you guys come up to us and say hi, and talk to us about our projects. We love talking to you guys about your projects. So they've been great. I think crypto communities are still just as strong as ever. Builders are still building as much as ever. So it's good.
Amazing. Speaking of, moving forward and progressing, instead of staying static, we heard some news about some European offices opening. Can you give us some insight onto that?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in there. So it's been a constant ask for Kado to support European bank transfers and European customers. We do offer Visa and Mastercard in 150 countries, but we understand that alternative payment methods are much more ideal, a bit lower cost at most of the time, and so we've prioritized the European region, I guess, as our next step, but it's with full intention that we go global, right? It's the idea being that the United States today is sort of in not a gray area per se, but it's still a bit more hostile than we'd like it to be. And the opportunity to do stuff in Europe is very appealing. MiCA, this legislation that's been, proposed and discussed many times, and it's gone back and forth. There's pros, there's cons. They start to slip little things in that you're like, what the heck are you doing? But I think there's progress going on there that we're not seeing here, at least today. And so for that reason, it makes sense to focus elsewhere in the time being. But again, that being said, we've been in the United States our whole time, and we continue to be so. And we work with partner banks here that have all of the licensing and the proper compliance regimes to make our services available. But the idea is it'll hopefully allow us to be a bit more dynamic, a bit more agile in listing assets, listing tokens, blockchains, working with different regions and those customers. The idea is to hopefully one day be able to load the application in France. It's automatically in the French language. The European bank transfer options are readily available. And so, that being our first, but again, hopefully after that, there's much more to go.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing to remember, at least when it comes to regulations, yes, the United States isn't so much of a gray areas as hostile, like you said. However, I personally feel, at least for me, I personally feel that regulation doesn't mean the end of anything, but the beginning of, you know, properly managed DeFi, let's say, or accountable DeFi, let's say, because it's kind of a topic that is forefront of mind, at least for me, and I know the OSL right now. Um, Responsible DeFi. But Pickle has a really great question regarding being a European consumer. What does it mean for me as a European consumer? You guys are opening a European branch in terms of supported payment method, prices, etc. Do you have any decent details that you could share as of yet, or are things still kind of in the initial stages?
Yeah, so we've been working on this for the first half of the year. The hope is to, I guess, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but by mid-July, have access and those sort of bank transfers available. So again, we get that question almost daily, right? So It's a understandable one, and we totally get it, right? Visa and Mastercard, they have high fees. It's very hard for us to be able to offset those fees, as we're just sort of a processor on behalf of them. We're not we would obviously prefer for customers to be able to do it cheaper, faster, and in the spirit of access globally. It definitely leans itself to more local methods.
So, um, in relation to that, I know that there are a few options in Europe for payment processing. Can you talk about which ones are most likely to come to Kado, such as like Swift or other processors?
Yep. The first two that we are looking at are SEPA, so SEPA bank transfers, as well as open banking, which
Okay.
is available across both Europe and the UK. So I think those will be the first, and then again, much more to come.
Um, and Pickle wants you to clarify about France. You did mention them in particular. However, knowing how the European Union works, if you can operate in France successfully, does that mean you can operate across Europe?
Yep, exactly. That's a great question. So effectively, if you have, a license and work within the region, a lot of folks in crypto will get their, they call it a VASP license, virtual asset service provider license, and it's usually in countries like Lithuania or Poland. And again, it gives you that access within the region, within for the banking rails, for the crypto rails, and servicing customers.
And I'm guessing you mentioned France because that was the likely place of Cato headquarters.
No. That's just an example.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to clarify there. Moons asks a really good question that I will want to get to that in just a little bit. Moons, I see it, I feel it, I know where you're going with it. But I do want to move on to a couple of quarter one updates as well. Can we thank your graphic designers for a sleek new dark mode? My eyes, thank you.
Yeah, I'll let John. You want to take that one?
Yeah, no, we'll pass on the thanks over to our designers. We heard that was a really big want, and we wanted to make sure. I mean, also like our integration partners build in dark mode, so it just made
Mhm.
sense for us to offer a dark mode to match the theme. But yeah, we're super happy that came out. I mean, anything on the UX UI guys side, guys, if you guys have any thoughts or feedback, always love to hear them.
Perfect.
We're so happy that's out.
Excellent. Um, Something that was really big in this quarter that we actually saw across our own governance here on Osmosis was routers ending up smart contracts. So you can know your customer, swap assets with some instant finality. Can you give us a little bit more information on what that experience is like and how folks can go about it?
Yeah, that's a perfect segue. So I've actually got a video. If I can share my screen, I don't know if I need permissions or something,
Should
but
be able to, or at least try.
give it a try. So we've basically I did a little pre-recording here, so bear with me. But it can you see my screen there?
Yep. For folks
Yeah,
who are
good to go.
watching, just make sure to tap or click on the screen share to bring it up into a more fuller screen.
Cool. So effectively, what we're looking at is the home screen here. I guess in this case, selecting the network, selecting the asset. We've got your currency list. We've actually got the ability for you to select your wallet. You can connect your Kepler wallet, your Leap wallet directly. That being again a way to autofill your wallet address. Of course, you can enter your wallet address if you'd like. I've got my bank payment method as I'm already an existing customer. It exists in the system. It's your default payment method, and then as you can see, within 30 seconds, you're buying crypto. So this is already sped up a good bit, and we can actually jump into some more of the specifics here. But what's effectively happening is that your accounts are being debited, right? We're taking those funds either from your card, from your bank, and pulling them to our banking partner, and then it actually, in reality, took about 4 minutes. This is obviously sped up a little bit here, but as you can see, the Osmo balance increases. We'll get into the specifics and why this is so exciting, but effectively going from your fiat method to osmosis, osmo token in this case, like within minutes, within 5 minutes.
You're
So
the contract flush that shows up on Mintscan now. Good to
we're the
know.
contract flush. That's us. We've been trying to get them to change the name. It might be another few days here, but hopefully it says ramp instead.
Okay, great.
So the we should clarify that. Good point.
Yeah, no, that's
But
great. Okay, so what's the nitty-gritty? What's happening on the background? What's going on there?
Yep, absolutely. So what's really exciting about this is that we are using Axelar and we are actually using Avalanche to create this, and Osmosis, obviously. So three different networks to settle this trade. What really is happening is the USDC is actually going through Axelar into a smart contract within the Kado Osmosis router. Again, that being the proposal and the governance process that we did over the last month and have been testing and verifying, audited, and we're about to release our audit report and open source the whole thing actually, which is really exciting. Effectively, again, it connects Axelar USDC into a smart contract that does a swap through this router on Osmosis and settles to you those tokens. So obviously in this case we're talking about Osmo, but in theory you can swap to anything. One of the sort of limitations that we had was the ability to swap from denoms. It was a bit hairy in terms of COSM, WASM, and Osmosis. So what we had to do was create this router that would allow us to essentially connect the dots between Axelar USDC, the Osmo token, and then the other asset that you'll be trading to. And so obviously the next step from there is an IBC transfer. Being able to do a smart contract swap to a token and an IBC transfer really opens up the pipes for greater access to Cosmos app chains, the ability to use this as a toolkit for developers to think about fiat onboarding and simplify that process. That's something that has been really difficult traditionally in Cosmos, right? So again, there's really what you're seeing today is the ability to buy Osmo, but there's so much more to come.
Yeah, let me
So,
and I'll add on to that. So aside from the nitty gritty and the back end, like what's happening, right? What this means, why we did this, is really the important part. So this for us is sort of foundational technology to get into Cosmos app chains. In this case, it is buying Osmo, but what that means to you as a user or a buyer means that we can now basically tap into on-chain liquidity for almost any Cosmos token through the Osmosis router. So, when you go to someone else and they say, they've listed one Cosmos token or another, they're doing it the slow way. We can now effectively get to it a lot faster. We can get to any Cosmos like app chain or token way faster, and we're using on-chain liquidity. So it's way more optionality for everyone here on the Cosmos side. Whatever you want, we can get that to your Kepler or Leap or whatever it is. So effectively, that is what we just did foundationally. From here, it's just a matter of if you guys want a network or an asset, let us know. We'll spend a couple days, turn it on.
that's amazing to hear. Pickle, I see your question. I'm going to try and wrap in that idea with a couple of others that with a couple of things that I want to ask about this router. The router itself. Give me a like I remember when you were first on a few months ago, your really important metric internally was basically the time to on ramp, the time it takes for a user to transform fiat into crypto, and wanting to get that number really, really low, almost to, I'm guessing, instantaneous is what you would prefer. And I can definitely see how this, at least on the grand scale, how this will enable that, right? If it only takes, 4 minutes from fiat to a coin, that's great. And when you're using on-chain liquidity, all of the sudden it's just instantly final. So give us like a 50,000 foot overview on, user deposits money, money is confirmed, that kind of overview for us. And then I'll get into asking Pickle's question.
Yeah, so I might jump in there. So I guess is the question between the time that you pay and submit your transfer or transaction, and then how it ends up in your wallet?
Yeah. I'm basically like, give me like the simple steps of the back end work, let's say.
Yeah. So again, because it is instant and final, we do a bunch of verifications in that time. It is thankfully very quick and such. And if you've KYC'd before, again, it's very, very easy to make that second, third, fourth transaction. Obviously, we understand the KYC friction and hope to reduce that. But effectively, after you've confirmed your transaction, it is again moving through Axelar. One of the benefits is that we're using the Avalanche chain with Axelar, which has a lower fee. As you might see in the app, there is a $1.60 fee. That's a bit of a hard cost that we don't take anything there. That's obviously just Axelar's relayer fee. But if you've ever gone from Ethereum through to Cosmos, right, it's about $30.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think I saw just yesterday that Greg Asuri from Akash was talking about, moving USDC Ethereum over to a Akash network, and I was like, it's just 3% and $30. With Kado, that's going to be less than 1%, and fast, 5 minutes, right, directly to the token. So again, I think the important part of what we're trying to solve is between the confirmations from your payment method to the on-chain activity is to do all of this stuff for users sort of on the back end that simplifies it for them. So that again, I'm sure anyone who has ever tried to tell their friend how to buy a Stargaze NFT, right? We're looking at the after the filter NFTs that everyone's got now, and the process that it takes to go from Coinbase to Atom to then swapping it on on Osmosis, depositing it, withdrawing it. I mean, it's a bit
It's a lot.
amazing, the technology behind IBC, but it's definitely a bit clunky on the front end.
Right. Okay. That's great. So what I'm hearing is you're using liquidity on Avalanche, USDC liquidity on Avalanche, and
Yep.
moving it through Axelar to get it onto Osmosis to get you whatever coin you wanted on Osmosis, essentially.
Exactly. And then potentially
Excellent.
another IBC transfer after, so that again, that first time after the filter, wannabe buyer can literally, get those tokens within 10 minutes max.
Excellent.
And because it's IBC, it's low cost, low fees, and very, very quick. So again, it's really about simplifying that onboarding experience for the first time user, and then in theory, makes it very simple to use as a developer, as a toolkit item for these app chains as they think about growth.
So
Uh,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
I actually wanted to ask. So now, okay, I was gonna ask before how you got from USD to actually USDC, but so now I see it's through Avalanche and all of that. Was there a specific reason to choose Avalanche over another L2 like Arbitrum or Polygon or something like that?
It's a good question. I would say that in the short term, it was the most readily available. USDC on Avalanche was already natively Circle supported, right?
Right.
Which
Yeah.
gave some confidence. And then I'd say the L2 game. I mean, there's Polygon, there's Arbitrum. It could have been a number of them. Obviously, the only pretty recently has Axelar supported those. So maybe also in the sense that we've been working with Axelar since it was really just like 3 or 4 networks, and I think Avalanche was one of those. So yeah, this has been a great product for getting USDC into the ecosystem. That's what customers have been doing for the most part. But now being able to expand that to tokens and beyond, and IBC chains and app chains is just even more powerful.
Great. John, did you want to add something before I move into Pickle's questions?
Yeah, sure. We're talking metrics. Last time we talked about time to wallet. We do love that metric. That for us is like it's our Google's search results in
Right.
0.01 seconds or whatever, right?
Right.
Our fastest right now is still 90 seconds. Our median time to wallet is like 2.2 minutes. I think Osmosis spies are a little bit longer, like 3 or 4 minutes, but we're still trying to. And really, that's like put that in perspective. That's when you click the confirm button.
Right.
4 minutes later,
Right.
Osmo is in your wallet.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. So, in relation to how to get liquidity into the Cosmos, in general, a couple of questions from Pickle that I think fit into that realm. So basically, Noble has come up and is going to be essentially minting for Circle native Cosmos USDC. Can you give us any information on if you've talked to them about integrating your systems with their chain and utilizing that in part of where you can get liquidity from? And in terms of, again, some back end information, um, is there, how does the wallet situation work for you guys? Because obviously, when you interact with a blockchain, generally for a centralized business, they use 1 to maybe 5 different wallets to manage their assets moving around. Or are you holding it somewhere different or unique? And is it basically, do you just then actively move, or do you try not to hold as much crypto assets directly to avoid any sort of liabilities?
That was a good question. So I think the first part of that, Cosmos and Noble, we've been in constant communication with the team. We are big fans of theirs and very excited for what it means for Cosmos. Getting a native stablecoin hopefully builds confidence for institutions, for more retail customers, and is generally a good sign, right? If Circle is coming, that's very positive.
Right.
So it'll be an interesting thing to see how it unfolds with liquidity and fragmentation. I'm I don't have a horse in the race per se, but I guess we'll see how it unfolds, right? It'll really come down to how
Quickly before
apps.
you continue, I think the ideal that all of us degens want to see is basically Circle says, okay, move all of the USDC that you have bridged over from Axelar or whatever to, IBC'd into Noble, and we'll just give you 1 for 1. I think that'll be the nicest,
Right.
but let's be
Right.
real.
I'm with you. That sounds pretty ideal, simple. We'll see how it goes. That's for sure.
And so I interrupted you. I'm so sorry. You were talking. You were probably going to move on to kind of the wallet situation with Kado.
Yep. So effectively, because we work with partner banks, we are not the ones directly controlling our assets. So of course we have APIs and work with accounts and systems and graphical interfaces to interact with this stuff. But some of it we've built ourselves, some of it they provide. We effectively, nobody here has the private key for some wallets that are holding funds, right? A lot of I believe folks use Fireblocks. Fireblocks is sort of like the custodial back-end infrastructure for a lot of these, banks, and effectively, they use cold wallets, they use hot wallets, and I guess for us, what's a little bit different because we are an on-ramp as opposed to like a custodial exchange. We're not in the business of holding your assets. What we're really in the business of doing is like allowing you to trade them for fiat. And so, when you on ramp, you're just buying that from a liquidity provider. What's interesting there is again that when you buy a Bitcoin or Ethereum from a market maker, they have to hold those assets traditionally and hedge their positions, and it makes it not to say disadvantageous by any means, but it's the traditional way of doing it. What we're talking about with the Osmosis router is using Osmosis liquidity, and creating volume on chain for settling those trades. Buying if you were to imagine buying wrapped Bitcoin on Osmosis, that in theory could happen, all settled as a trade and USDC, as opposed to having to short Bitcoin and hedge my position while I'm also selling that Bitcoin, for people to buy. And so, again, that's why it's just a really cool and new, kind of feature that we're excited to bring for, as many app chains as possible.
So, to kind of summarize from what I heard, and correct me on any points if I'm wrong, and this is to help clarify for Felix as well, who asked, for now, Kado only supports up to 3K. Where's the liquidity for Kado coming from? Is Kado providing the liquidity? He just answered that no, they aren't. Since they are an on-ramp, they functionally work different than, let's say, Coinbase does. Coinbase obviously does on-ramping. However, since Kado is essentially the fiat banking system tie-in, let's say, is that kind of how I'm interpreting what you said? Is you work
I
with
like it.
APIs?
Yep.
Basically, you're the connection between the fiat banking system, which is a monolith and its own beast in and of itself, and you're trying to not only connect that to Web3, but also utilize what's already available in Web3.
That's it. That's exactly right. So, I mean, what I would say is we try and, do as much Web3 native stuff as possible. We're focused on these Cosmos use cases, DeFi, NFTs, beyond, validators, DAOs. Really excited about everything that's coming. But at the end of the day, we are connected to TradFi Rails, and it's what makes all of this possible. So now it's up to us to make it, simpler and faster and easier for folks to, onboard their friends and, continue onboarding, obviously, themselves into these ecosystems. And obviously today talking about Cosmos, but we of course support Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche. So I mean it's definitely we're picking the Cosmos ecosystem in a big way. This is why we've done this Osmosis router work. This is why we're working with folks in a deep way. But my thesis in that is that at least that we're still early to the Cosmos. It's not going to happen overnight, but then there is going to be that epiphany moment, and it'll happen all at once. So not today, not tomorrow, but it's coming.
So the so we got some really good questions, continuing on from both Pickle and Felix. So Pickle asks, what differentiates Kado from the Transact or MoonPay or other fiat on/off ramps, as well as how can that be ultimately profitable, even with a relatively high fee, because ultimately you do have to pay your back end liquidity providers essentially for access to that liquidity.
Yep. So I guess in the first case, Transact and MoonPay, we are working with these ecosystems deeply. I'd say, they are again trading that and selling Osmo tokens to hedge their position. What we actually get to do is create volume for Osmosis and create, access to these app chains. Beyond that, we prioritize user experience and really like that Web3 native consumer is sort of our core audience. They I wouldn't say are focused as much on that. They definitely offer it, but the other piece to why it might be differential in price is that we only support, again, going back to the European expansion idea, we only support Visa and MasterCard, so it is about 3%. Actually, I do believe that Transact and MoonPay both charge 4 to 4.5% on cards, which actually is higher. But again, I'm imagining that he's talking about like the bank transfer rail, which, as again, is understood to be cheaper. So we hope to launch that again in the next couple of months here, and it's definitely top priority. I guess on the profitability piece, we're not in the game today of necessarily being profitable. It is, we are working on revenue. We are working on customer acquisition. We're fortunate to work with great partners that some of these ecosystems help us out. Some of the partners we're working with help us out, and it comes down to creating more volume and more users that are buying crypto and such. So the more volume that we can capture and the more users we can serve, the more upside we find. But I guess in the meantime, it's still just really exciting to be able to start building out these pipes because it's still pretty early. But if we're talking about osmosis today, how many chains are connected to osmosis and how many of those we could connect. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity.
John, do you have something to
Yeah.
add to that?
Yeah, no, I'll add in there, Pickle. I mean, if you guys do see better rates with MoonPay and Transact, that typically doesn't happen. But if you do see something like that, feel free to send it over on Discord, Telegram, wherever. Email us. I'm checking now, and it's not. It's ours is still better. But then again, we're there's a few levers that you pull, right? There's like Emery said, there's SEPA versus card versus ACH. Um, Everything I'm pulling here looks like ours is better, but if you find something better, let us know, and we'll certainly take a look at why that might be. And
One of
then on the profitability piece, right? I think um, we're focusing on bringing you guys a product that's really easy to use, and the more you guys want to use it, the easier it is. You have access to Web3 and all the great Web3 things that you guys want to do in Osmosis and Cosmos. So that's definitely the number one goal right now. Adding extra barriers to entry is you know it's not currently it wouldn't be the best for anybody. So that's the take there.
So let's remind our audience, if one of you could speak to the origins of Kado. If I remember correctly, the Kado, the entity um, was starting just before the Terra collapse, right? Or they were working with Terra necessarily. Correct me if I'm wrong. And why the focus in Web3 is a more important goal to you in connecting the rails, let's say, than what other on/off ramps might be doing.
Yeah, so again, effectively, we were, born out of the Terra ecosystem actually about 2 years ago. It's about to be our 1 year and our 2 year anniversary. We're very excited, but thankfully, had great partners through that were not just Terra. Obviously, as seeing the landscape, we knew not to put all of our eggs in one basket, right? So thankfully, we're supported by also like Circle Ventures and a couple of other great partners that helped make it pretty easy for us to migrate to provide the same fiat on and off ramp experience across different partnerships. We within like the first week moved to work with Axelar. We picked the pieces up and started stuff in the Cosmos. So I think that we thankfully, to the team's credit, have moved on gracefully from that experience. There was a lot of folks that, as you probably all know, did not, and it's unfortunate as it is. Nobody wanted that sort of outcome. But anyway, I think it's now about, again, access and utility are still our core values. We believe that we're starting that in the Cosmos, and it's been again relatively underserved. So a major opportunity, and hopefully, again, not gonna turn the lights on tomorrow or turn. Not everyone's not gonna get rich tomorrow, but it's coming.
Felix just posted a screenshot of what he is seeing in the chat. If one of you wants to take a look, but I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to ask. So obviously, as the focus comes on digital asset trading, there is a big focus on tax liability for, the individual person, because it is something that is relatively new to people. I personally have read the United States documentation on digital assets, and oh my God, um, you don't want to. It is hundreds of pages. Um, do you so how does off ramping work? Say, Pickle wants to take $5,000 out to his bank account. Ultimately, do you provide any sort of information to any tax authority, or is that still left up to the user to ensure that it is that they're covered and that they have the proper documentation?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, we do KYC our customers. That's, unfortunately part of the process here in the United States, whether you like it or not. It is helpful in situations that you want to, connect to DeFi in responsible ways, which I like your kind of positioning on. But effectively, if you want to off ramp, say $5,000, you would connect your Kepler wallet. You would go to Kado. You would say, put in the amount of money. What we would do is, again, collect that USDC on the other side through Avalanche and effectively off ramp that for you. Since it's USDC, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's just the standard mint and burn from Circle. But effectively, what we do is we actually trade that with a partner that charges a few percent fee as well. They make their money, so they're happy too, because it's stable, moving between USD and USDC to be able to charge to make some money on. But anyway, effectively, then we would just initiate a bank transfer, and usually those funds land in your account within 24 hours.
Excellent. And then regarding taxes, for instance, so obviously, if you have a if you have Coinbase, for instance, they provide you with a 8 for whatever form, or a Schedule D if you move that much money. I'm guessing Kado really isn't doing that due to just how the ramping is working.
Yeah. So our banking partner, they do, obviously. I mean, you're connecting your name and your KYC. No one's sending, from our end, these documents, but they are readily available from your Kado account. So, it's up to you to file your taxes. Of course, if we get action requests, that's not actually really on us. It's actually on our partner bank. And I mean, if you're doing illicit things, that might be the case, but for the everyday user, less likely, right? So, yeah, I think it's standard practices. How everyone uses Coinbase is the same way, that it works with us.
Right. That's great. Thank you. Dan, welcome up. Do you have a question for John or Maury?
Yeah. Hey guys, how you doing? I had a quick question. Does Kado help businesses like pay contractors in crypto at all by chance? Like I ran into a situation where one of the contractors who helped me out with some stuff, he wanted to be paid in USDC, and it was kind of a pain in the ass to have to like take some cash from my bank account, wire it to Kraken, swap it to Atom, bring it over, use Osmosis to get it to USDC. So I was curious if you guys have any tooling to help with that kind of stuff.
It's a great question. So what I would say is, hopefully it's bi-directional, right? If you wanted to get paid in fiat, but you had actual USDC, you could do it the other way. Effectively, what it just would require is you to, on ramp to him. So if you were to, basically put in your bank payment method as the, on ramp method, you would then put in his wallet address, and everything would sort of be automated. So I wouldn't say necessarily per se it's like built to be a pay your, no, it's not the same exact idea and concept, but it has the same capability. And
So
again,
it'd be like my KYC for the fiat side, and then I wouldn't need to like know anything about his crypto address. I could just send money to his address, right?
Yeah, you could send it to yourself to start and then send it one more time to him, or you could just put, his wallet address in the on-ramp. Where those assets land, as long as they're obviously your intention, are that's the goal, right? Making sure there's no fat fingering and anything like that, of course. But the idea is, if you want to send them to wallet A or wallet B, that's your prerogative.
And how much does something like that cost if I wanted to like send like $2,000 to someone? Because like normally I'll do like a $25 wire fee. Is it less than that with Kado?
Yep. So if you were to do that today, it's a $2 ACH fee, as well as a like the Axelar bridge fees, which are, again, I don't know if you caught before, but the only sort of hard costs we have are the network fees and the Axelar fees. So those are passed on to the customer. I believe in total it would be about 450, 550 for that transaction.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm definitely gonna do that next time. How does KYC work for like institutional companies? Like would that be done like through the company name, or would it have to be tied to a specific individual at the company?
I would say that's totally up to you. Again, we do offer KYB onboarding. We've done that a few times already this week. So it's as we start to like look into these validator use cases, we're really excited to offer some really really cool features for off ramping your on chain revenues to convert that to fiat, so you can actually pay your AWS bills and stuff like that. But effectively, if you're doing the reverse, it's the same way. It's just an on ramp to your destination. And again, for KYC, it's just a standard process, nothing more than you'd be used to.
Oh, very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, so much. And to kind of jump off of that idea, so Kado, we were talking yesterday really briefly just to make sure everything was working for these guys, and we were actually talking about, for instance, New York State. I live in New York State. I cannot technically on ramp with Kado if I have anything New York State based. However, because of how businesses work, if you have a business that is, say, based in Delaware or in Oregon or anything, but you just so happen to live in New York State, then you still can KYB with Kado and utilize the service in that way, which really was eye-opening for me yesterday.
Yeah, I mean it's an uncommon use case for sure, but again, it's we of course would love to serve New York, would love to serve everywhere, but it's one way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable. Dan, do you have any other questions for these guys?
I guess I'm kind of curious, like what other stuff you can do with Kado. That's cool. I'm pretty new to Kado. I don't know much about it. I used to be a big user of Cash IO back in the Terra days, and like I thought they had some cool stuff with like their banking interface, the plan like debit cards, stuff like that. Can you talk about kind of like other stuff you can do with Kado?
Yeah. So we're starting to think about that stuff, but we're not going to have any fun stuff on that to share today on the accounting and such. But really, for today's sake, it is been focused primarily on the on and off ramp, access to these app chains, working deeply with these ecosystems, and building out this tech. What I will say is that we're really excited to just work with so many great partners, wallets, dApps, builders, developers that are using these services, that we can hopefully create benefits for them, and enjoy partnerships that they can bring us to. So it's been primarily focused on that, but I'd say the most recent feature that is of excitement to share is the swap feature. So a no KYC aggregation of both Li-Fi as well as Squid Router that many in the Cosmos know. But with a focus today on really like cross-chain transfers, but soon we'll be adding more assets and more ways to trade and exchange. So you can obviously like most folks do, you on ramp to either USDC or Ethereum or the token that you're trading against, right? A lot of folks will swap into another token. So again, hopefully makes trading and swapping both on the same chain and also cross chain easy and fun too.
I'll add a perspective there. So our like core engine of what we've built, right? This sort of like on ramp, off ramp, and swap mechanism. So that for us is basically this like core engine, and it's a tool. You can certainly come and use that tool to off ramp to buy crypto, and then you can off ramp and get rid of your crypto. So you can do all those things. I think the cool usages of this tool come down to how we partner with our builders, right? So if you are a builder, you can effectively build this tool into many different kinds of use cases and user journeys that that kind of like enhance that user journey. So I think the cool application will come from how builders decide to work with us and build around this tool, or how they decide to fit this tool into their existing system. So for example, if you wanted to go to some kind of like DeFi thing, and you want to deposit 100 osmo or stake 100 osmo or something like that, but you actually don't have 100. So the cool usage of the tool would be, how can we then, knowing that you as a user, you want to get 100, 120 bucks or whatever it is at this point, 120 bucks into 100 staked osmo, sorry, other way around, 80 bucks into 100 staked osmo. How can you build Kado into that workflow where we know you don't have enough? We'll go ahead and top you off up to that 100, and then that way from there you can then put that 100 into whatever vault, whatever staking thing that there is, right? So we're trying to build this into a way that's easy to use, easy to integrate with, and easy to build around, where we're going to work really close with different builders and partners to make sure that the kind of like the interesting use case, or the make it easy for you to do XYZ, that's where that comes in. Then of course, like, where we can build a whole bunch of cool things later that I probably can't talk about too much, but you know, that's that's my perspective on that, right? It's up to the interesting usage of the tool. Otherwise, the tool is still just a great tool.
So I'm gonna add in here for Dan and John and Maury. The what it sounds like is, one, you need a marketing term. You need a buzzword, as much as we all loathe buzzwords. Think of this engine, and it could. I'm sure you have many marketing people who get paid much more than I do to think of these terms. However, what I'm hearing and what I can see the ultimate vision being is, if someone is, let's take for example Ethereum. There is essentially three major libraries to interact with Ethereum, and they all pretty much act exactly the same in certain ways, just based on you're only interacting with one thing. However, with Kado, you're now interacting with the interchain, which means you have a whole bunch of different APIs to go ahead and parse and everything. But having builders come to you and say, I want to have this experience for my users, and you saying, you know what, we could probably do that. And working with them to figure it out is what's going to set Kado apart from other services like MoonPay or Transact, let's say. Um, and figuring out a way for the ecosystem builders to utilize Kado in different ways is going to help a lot, because if there is one thing that is, still an issue, is it's onboarding users. It's getting users familiar and comfortable and feel safe with DeFi. And Kado is definitely a great step in the right direction.
Oh, 100%. So if we can, that's why we say we're sort of like the Web3 native on ramp, right? And I also don't like that term because we're not just an on ramp. We're building a tool set to kind of like enable Web3 use cases here, and that's also what the roadmap builds towards. So yeah, we want to work really closely with partners to build something that the users want to use that inherently has trust, has a sort of like low friction, and we can move a person from A to Z in terms of where they want to end up. So 100%. That's how we want to kind of work with the ecosystem builders.
Well, and you guys coming from the Cosmos, technically, if you count early Terra as Cosmos, um, initially, also makes makes Kado very native to the Cosmos, just inherently, and then working with different chain partners like Osmosis and Axelar and everything allow you to start building what I would lovingly call like the Kado library of interoperability APIs of where I'm thinking of obviously there are a lot of AI projects, chat AI products out right now, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with one called Lang Chain, where basically they've taken all these different APIs and mushed them all together for builders and users to basically have a pick me system on how they want to get from prompt to response. So I kind of see what you guys are doing here, or at least your vision that you're talking about, in that way, where you're looking at the ecosystem at large and saying, oh, where can we connect the train tracks to make things really neat?
Right, definitely.
Yeah. So long answer, short, Dan. Cool shit.
Yeah, I know that's very exciting.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious about like what kind of developer tools you guys provide for people who do want to integrate with Kado. Do you have like APIs, SDKs, frameworks?
Yeah, so we have some integration docs right now. If you're curious, we can send them over. There's a couple different integration methods available today. We're actually very soon going to release another one. And then we're also going to release, like developer relations is really important for us. We do want to be kind of partner builders. We have docs today. There's going to be more to come as well.
Oh, very cool.
That's great to hear.
Do you get?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was also going to ask. So I have about a team of like 2 or 3 devs on my team. We mostly are working on like a tax app, but we also like trying to get involved with like helping out other Cosmos projects. Do you guys have any like things that you like want people to build in particular, either through a grant system or something else, where it's just like you're looking for external help for like Golang dev kind of stuff?
I mean, it's an interesting question. We can, I don't think we've thought about it that much. I mean, on the sort of like the accounting side and the B2B side in terms of use cases, that's something we're always working around and thinking about. That's a whole world that I think we would love to play in. It's just going to be a matter of sort of like time and priority.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, if you're interested in chatting about it, like my guys have a lot of experience like building APIs and that kind of stuff, so
Great.
it could be cool.
So at that point, we have kind of reached our time limit today. One of our guests had to already run. So why don't we, unless Water Spinner, do you have anything else to add or ask?
No. That was a lot of good alpha right now. A lot of good stuff.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
then, John, why don't we end it with where can people connect with other Kado builders, Kado in general, if they just want to be a part of a community or part of the builder community that you are creating, and where can they find out information on Kado? Oh.
Yeah. I mean, definitely come to the site. We're reachable on Twitter. You can DM me on Twitter. You can reach out to, if you have a question about, like, if your order isn't going through or something, you can reach out to support at Kado.money. Otherwise, you can hit up partners at Kado.money if you're interested in integrating. We also have a giant become a partner button on the website that if you actually want to integrate, we can get you on the list and get you some docs and get you set up. So that's easy. A couple other like small things that I think we can probably rapid fire while people are on. I saw recurring buys, question about recurring buys. Alpha there is very soon, weeks, not months. And then the second thing I want to say about that is, certainly, and this is like related to, how we're different from Transac and MoonPay. It's pretty obvious that there are a lot of on ramps in crypto, right? Like there's 10 of us a day, new ones a day that pop up. It's really important for us to continuously engage with you guys as users. And it's also really important for us to think of ways to continuously incentivize your continuous engagement with us, right? So we are thinking about like the right ways to pull all of those levers, right? So you guys want higher limits, you guys want lower fees, you guys want faster times, you guys want more optionality. We also want you guys to continuously come back. And so we're working on reward systems, loyalty systems. All of that is trying to give back to you guys as a community and you guys as users to so that we can kind of build this ongoing relationship, and that you guys, whenever you guys have some kind of on ramp need, think of Kado, because you're incentivized to do so, because you have loyalty, because there's a reason to engage with us. So that's a couple different pieces of alpha there.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, John. So let's wrap it up for today. Thank you so much, Dan, for popping on up and asking questions. As a reminder, if anyone is comfortable coming up into the audience, this is what this show was made for. So don't be afraid if you are not microphone shy. But obviously, we have the chat there for those who are. I have been Tog, part of the OSL. The other host with the most, who's been pretty quiet today because I've been asking all the questions. Sorry, friend. Is
Hi guys, yeah, Water Spinner here. Great show. I was excited to hear everything that happened, and yeah, no, it was good. Lots of the questions that I wanted to possibly start to ask, I think we were both, we were hand in hand there. Yeah, a lot of things I wanted to get to what was answered. So yeah, that was awesome. That was good stuff.
Chances are Water Spinner will be the main one for the next one. So thank you all again. Thank you again, John, for coming on just short notice. Again, we appreciate having you around. And we look forward to talking to you again when you got huge news.
Yeah, sounds great. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate all the answers.
Thank you. All right, friends, we are going to be heading off.